Welcome back to Saturday Hashmarks. My name is Brian, also known as Trojan Bias on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. I'm joined here by Nick. We are remote today, but that's all right. Nick, how you doing?
Yeah, doing good. Can't complain. How you doing today?
I'm here. Now, Nick, I gotta ask: is that a Centennial G-Hawks polo behind you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Big game on Thursday. We last game of the season against Frontier.
Ooh, the battle for Northwest Bakersfield. Let's go.
Hell yeah.
You guys gonna win?
I think so. We're 7-2. They're 6-2.
Oh, there
So
you
should
go.
be a good game.
How have you played one more game than them?
Uh, I have no idea. Their max prep says they're 6-2. I don't know if they played a JV team. Their varsity team played someone up north. I don't know if they had a JV team. So
Oh, gotcha.
yeah.
All right, we got some big college football news. Starting off after a bad loss to A&M, a loss where they were leading at halftime in a night game in Death Valley. LSU has fired Brian Kelly. Now, this is a move that had to happen. I got a couple of things to say about this because this was a weird dynamic, a weird marriage from the beginning. Like we all saw in the introductory press conference where Brian Kelly, who had branded himself as this blue collar Irish Catholic from the Midwest, Northeast, had a Southern accent all of a sudden, and it was like a weird, bad Southern accent. And then we just saw the
Family.
culture. Yeah, we saw the culture. Like a lot of LSU alumni were coming out over the past couple weeks, and they were saying that LSU has always allowed, a lot of teams do allow alumni, past players to come back and do like off-season workouts, uh, attend practices, be on the sideline for games. I've seen that at USC games. I've seen a bunch of different guys there. But he wasn't allowing that. He was not allowing alumni around the facility at all. A lot of them had come out and said that after talking to current players, the culture that was there forever at LSU, kind of that hard hitting, tough, and then obviously Cajun culture just isn't there anymore. That Pete Kelly's gotten rid of that. It just seems like this was never going to work. And Brian Kelly's not the worst coach in the world. I mean, he, obviously Notre Dame got rid of him. Notre Dame has looked better without him, but it's not like Notre Dame was terrible under Kelly either. So it just seems like the culture here was never going to work out.
Yeah, I mean, it just they feel like they didn't mesh well together. LSU and Brian Kelly just did not mesh. And I mean, even no matter how good of a ball coach you are, if you don't mesh with the fan base, the alumni, the people up top that run the whole football program, it's just not going to work out. No matter how good of a ball coach you are. And I mean, fired football coach is the best job in the world. Keep saying it. Getting paid 50, $60 million to do nothing. But that just makes another crazy Power Four open job, and this coaching carousel is going to be absolutely insane in the off season.
Yeah, and who does LSU get? I mean, obviously, if you pay attention to the rumors, Lane Kiffin will be the head coach at Florida, LSU, and Oklahoma State, and Penn State somehow. Uh, the rumors are saying Lane Kiffin's going everywhere. He's the hot commodity. I've said it before. I know we've had this conversation off camera. I don't think Lane Kiffin's going to leave Ole Miss. I mean,
Yeah, I don't
especially
think
when
so.
he just had a documentary where the last half of the documentary he's talking about how much he loves it in Oxford. His daughter is in Oxford now. Knox, his son is in Oxford. I don't think he's leaving. But you have like four high profile jobs or three high profile jobs and then a couple of kind of mid profile jobs. You have LSU, Penn State, and Florida. Three super high powered or super high high powered jobs. And then you have Oklahoma State, UCLA, two decent mid tier, if not better than mid tier, kind of that second tier job.
Hmm.
Who does LSU go after? I mean, you get rid of a you go after or you fire a good coach that's not the right fit for your program. Who do you go after from here?
Honestly, I'm not 100% sure. They might have to just go out and hire someone that's just a good culture builder. And I mean, I don't know if James Franklin and LSU would be a good fit. Uh, just mesh well together. I feel like James Franklin's very similar to Brian Kelly, but there's got to be someone out there, and they have to have their eyes set on someone. to be able to move on from Brian Kelly, because you don't just move on from someone like that without some plan in mind.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think you know, I don't think LSU needs the program builder James Franklin yet, and I don't think that'd be a good fit either. I think he's a little too similar to Brian Kelly and culture wise. But I just don't know. I mean, they have to have their eyes set on somebody. I don't know who it is though. So it'll and it almost seems like LSU's that job is a hire they have to get right. I mean,
Hmm.
you look at going back, like they get rid of Les Miles, who was a good coach, not a great coach, and they get Coach O. Coach O wins them a national championship. 2 years later, he's fired, and then you had all sorts of things. You know, he was hitting on boosters' wives at gas stations and stuff. So you had all that happen, and they go and they get Brian Kelly, and it's like I remember when that hire happened, I was like, that just doesn't seem like the right fit. I remember a lot of people saying it didn't seem like the right fit. So it seems like this is almost one that they have to absolutely nail to stay relevant.
Hundred
I mean,
percent.
if not, they're looking at becoming Florida, who was relevant 10 years ago, 15 years ago, but hasn't made the right hire since. I think this is a hire they have to get right. Like, and granted, every hire you're like, oh, they have to get this right. If you're firing the head coach, you need to
Yeah.
get a good head coach coming in. But this just seems like it's a little bit more where they have to get it right.
No, I agree. And I mean, they do. If they don't get it right, like you said, they could fall into that Florida tier where they're just middle of the pack, SEC, and with NIL allowing all those Big Ten schools and all the other schools to be able to steal those kids,
Yeah,
it's really hurting them, and they got to get someone in there.
yeah, 100%. I am with you 100%. Let's move on though. We have a lot to talk about. Uh, I don't know if you saw the AP poll this week. Anyone that has seen any of my TikToks knows that I am not a fan of this week's AP poll, and I am getting some hate in the comments from Bama fans about that one. So I want to go through this because I think this is horrible. So at one, this is the right week. Yes, this is the right week. At one, you have Ohio State and Indiana. I don't have any problem with that. I don't have a problem with A&M at three. But my first problem, this is where the Bama hate's coming in, is that Bama struggled against South Carolina. And it was a game that South Carolina should have won. They outplayed them. And then Lenora Sellers just fumbled the ball on a very routine tackle. And it's like South Carolina lost that game a lot more than Alabama won. And I know all the arguments for Alabama. They just played four ranked games in a row. But when you get to a point in the season when you're a top 12 team, you're going to have four, five, six ranked opponents in a row. Like, you're going to play a ranked opponent in the conference championship game. You're going to then turn around and in your first playoff game, you're going to play a ranked opponent. In the semifinals, you're going to play a ranked opponent. In the national championship game, you're going to play a ranked opponent. So that to me, it's kind of irrelevant if they had ranked opponents or not. I think straight up, they just did not look like the fourth best team in the country this Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, compared to where, I mean, the first six didn't change at all, and I mean, I'm fine if they won. Why not? They'll just leave them where they are. I mean, I know you're big on the AP poll rankings. I'm more so I like paying attention to like the coaches rankings, like the coaching poll,
Yeah.
and I really don't pay attention too much to the AP poll. Uh, I I can't wait to see the college football playoff committee's first poll. That's really going to tell us a lot, like how they value wins and against teams like the first week of the season, Clemson's not as good, so that win might not hold as much. Whereas in the AP poll, that win still holds a lot more weight, just because of preseason rankings.
I'm with
Where
you.
I just feel like the AP poll always is kind of trash, and the college football playoff committee, I mean, that's more so the best teams in actual order compared to
I'm
just like a bunch of people writing in.
I'm with you, and there's a few more things on here I have issues with, but I'm with you. The college football playoff committee significantly more important. Once that comes out, if that was coming out at the beginning of the season, I don't think I'd pay attention to the AP poll at all. I think the
Yeah,
AP poll
100%.
right now being the only thing that's out there, people are going to pay attention to it. And the thing with the AP poll is like, before the national championship game in the '90s, that's what decided national championships was the AP poll, and so there's credibility there. that it's a historic poll. College football is built on history and traditions. But then lately it's been bad. The last couple of years, and it seems like it's getting worse. Now
Hmm.
the coaches poll carries some weight, but the reason I'm not a big fan of the coaches poll is because coaches are obviously coaching games and they're not watching a lot of games. Um, but then the AP poll, kind of the same thing. The beat reporters, they're getting to the game early. They're going up to the press box. There might be a TV on in the press box, but they're paying attention to the team that they're paid to cover. Then they're gonna stay after, get interviews, sound bites, watch a press conference, go home, write the poll. So I almost feel like there needs to be, but at least up until the college football playoffs ranking, there needs to be another poll because here's the three big issues that I have in this poll, and that's that head to head apparently just doesn't matter at all to the AP poll voters.
Yeah.
I mean, Miami gets beat by Louisville, and Louisville is what 6 spots below them. Virginia, who did beat Louisville, they're 1 spot ahead of Louisville, so they got it right there. But then Miami is higher, even though Louisville has the head-to-head win there. Same thing, Oklahoma, Texas. Texas beat Oklahoma. They have the same record. And I should say that Louisville and Miami have the same record. They have the same record, but Texas has the head-to-head win. So you
Hmm.
can't. I don't see how you are saying, "Hey, Oklahoma's a better football team" when Texas beat them when they played the game of football. And then
I
same
agree.
thing for Michigan and USC. Same record. USC BTA'd them 2 weeks ago or
Yeah.
3 weeks ago, and you're just the rankings are really a way to say, hey, this is who we think are the best, and we think that Ohio State would beat Indiana, who would beat A&M, who would beat Alabama, who would beat Georgia. You go down the list, but then we see these two teams play, or we see like, multiple examples of two teams play, and they decide that doesn't matter, and that's the biggest issue I have now. I don't really mind not moving Bama down. I would personally, but the head to head just being meaningless, it just doesn't make. That's my biggest complaint. Does not make any sense to me.
Yeah. And I mean, I I could see your point of Bama getting moved down, but then you'd have to move Georgia down too. But then you can't move Georgia
Right.
down that far because Georgia beat Ole Miss. And then are you going to
Yeah.
slide Oregon up to 4? I mean, you could, but because Oregon's only loss is to Indiana, the second best team in the country. But
Yeah.
Georgia or Bama's loss is to the uh, or shoot, no, sorry, Georgia's loss is to Bama, who's the number 4 team in the nation.
Yeah.
So it's like it's just all kind of. I'm fine with the way it is, 1 through 6. I feel like those 6 teams, out of those 6 teams, one of those are winning the national championship.
Yeah. I agree. I'm and like I said, I'm not super mad about that. I'm somewhat mad about it, but it is what it is. Like you said, if I personally probably would move Oregon up and then slide everyone else down a little bit, but that's not my bigger complaint. My bigger complaint is the head to head being
Yeah,
irrelevant.
yeah, and I mean that's another thing that I know the college football playoff committee is going to take that more into account. So here, I think it's like 2 weeks from now, maybe even next week. But like you should see if Texas and Oklahoma win next week, I'm pretty sure you'll see Texas over them, or you'll see
Yeah,
USC over Michigan as long as both teams keep winning.
I'm very,
And
very interested to see, and especially the first one, because you'll kind of see as the college football rankings come out that the AP poll kind of starts to shift and be like, okay, we're gonna kind of
yeah,
the reporters are
start
starting to look
copying
at
this.
yeah, but
Yes.
I'm really interested to see the divergence in that first week this year.
Hmm.
I am very interested to see that.
Yeah, like I bet I wonder if Washington will be in that college football playoff top 25.
They almost have to. I don't know how they're not in the AP top 25. They have two
Yeah,
losses, but they're somewhat close losses to like top 10
Ohio
teams.
State, and I can't remember who the other team was,
I think
but
was it Indiana?
it might have been. But yeah,
Regardless,
it's
they have two really good good losses. If this was basketball, we'd call them quadrant one losses. So
yeah,
um, yeah. Besides that, like I said, South Carolina, lost to Bama more so than Bama beat them. I don't think anyone saw that game coming. I know I was watching the Vanderbilt. I was more focused on the Vanderbilt Mizzou game, and then I saw
yep.
the score, and I started going back and forth. And at one point, this is a TV issue. So at one point, they were in the 2 minute warning, within the 2 minute timeout in Vanderbilt and Mizzou, and there was like 8 minutes left in the Bama game. So kind of flipping back and forth still, but really more paying attention to the 2 minute drive. And then I look back, and now all of a sudden they're both in a 2 minute drive, and I was like, dude, come on, like what? So, But no, that was a game that I feel like Bama lost a lot more than South Carolina won. I mean, South Carolina making the good play at the end to let Bama score, or else Bama would have only won by 3 points. Um, that was just a game, and South Carolina's kind of been that all year. They're like almost good, but they're not quite there yet. Like they're not finishing games, or they're getting beat
Yeah,
by teams they shouldn't. It's like that was another team that just had a lot of hype to begin the season with. Yeah, Lenora Sellers was
yeah.
supposed to win a Heisman, Beamer, and that's a coach I think his seat is heating up. Beamer, his seat is definitely heating up more so because of what the expectations were this year, and then didn't happen.
Yeah, I agree. South Carolina, Sellers doesn't really have much help, especially up front, offensive line wise.
He
But
doesn't.
Bama's run game is still bad, and they just keep winning, which I mean, it's all you can ask for at this point through an SEC schedule. Uh, on the road against South Carolina in that environment, just get a win, get
Yeah,
a win, move on.
yeah.
Ty Simpson still elite, probably Heisman favorite,
Yeah,
and
his Ty Simpson's just been crazy consistently good all year. Like I don't
yep,
think he has been like he hasn't had that great game yet, but he's like consistently good. I moved him down on my Heisman rankings today just because he didn't have the best game. He was pretty inaccurate. I think he threw like 26 for 42 or something like kind of a low completion percentage. But I if he just goes back to being normal Ty Simpson, not being great, being just really really good, I think he'll win the Heisman.
yeah, and I mean, if he just plays good football, Bama can win the national title.
Yeah, I agree. They've looked quite unstoppable since that week 1 loss.
Hmm.
Also, this week we had two really big wins for the SEC championship, and that is Vanderbilt and Ole Miss. Now, they both lost. Well, Ole Miss lost to Georgia. Vandy lost to Bama. So both of those teams are not sitting. They do not control their own destiny. But Vandy needs Bama to lose 2 games, and then Ole Miss would need Georgia to lose 1 game. So they're in a point where they have to start winning. They have to win every single week and hope that things go their way. And they both passed the test. Ole Miss looked good. They looked really good in this week. It's almost like, man, that loss against Georgia was shouldn't happen type of how they're playing right now. They went
Hmm.
out. They'll make the conference or the college football playoffs no problem. Conference championship game, like I said, they need some things to happen. More interesting to me is Vanderbilt though, because more so just like 3 weeks ago or 3 years ago, if I would have said Vanderbilt may make the college football playoffs, like you would have been laughed out of the room for saying that. And
Yes, 100%.
they have looked really really good. They have looked good. Diego Pavia has looked really good. Now Pribula did get hurt, but Matt Zollers didn't look bad. I mean, I almost think that Matt Zollers looked very inexperienced, but he looked almost better than Pribula was doing.
Yeah, and I mean that's just because Vanderbilt didn't have any film on him. They hadn't prepped for him all week, and
That
normally
that'll
that's what happens.
definitely, yeah, that will make a difference.
But that's big for Vandy. I mean, Vandy needs a little bit more to happen than Ole Miss does, but I just don't think either of them make the conference championship game. I don't see
I
Georgia or Bama losing another game, but
I'm with
I
you.
know
I
we'll
don't
get
think
into it
they
later,
will. Yeah,
and I'll go over my prediction. But yeah, I don't see Vandy or Ole Miss. I think they can make a run for it. I think they both could go undefeated the rest of the year,
I do
but I
too.
just don't see Georgia or Bama losing another game.
They both have easy, or I shouldn't say easy. They both have very winnable schedules going forward. I don't think Ole Miss really
Yep.
plays anyone for the rest of the year that's super hard. I mean, maybe the Egg Bowl on Thanksgiving, which is my favorite Thanksgiving tradition, by the way. That's always a good close game. And then Vanderbilt again, rivalry week, Tennessee, and Tennessee's looked good but beatable. I think Vanderbilt could get the job done against them. I think Tennessee will be the favorites, but I think that they definitely could get it done.
Yeah, that one will be tough. And I mean, Bama's just got to get through Auburn. And I mean, I think Georgia's I think has the easiest out of the rest of the teams, easier than A
Yeah,
and M and everyone else. But
yeah. Georgia shouldn't lose a game for the rest of the season.
100%, I agree.
Then around that or at that same time, I think it was at the same time. It was during one of the two. time slots. We had Memphis come back and beat USF, a 17-point comeback, put up 17 unanswered. USF, who we all thought was the best team, the best group of five team, was like, this is head and shoulders the best group of five team. Probably just threw their season away and it will not be making the college football playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, if they could still win out and things could happen, but they would need Memphis to lose another game, San Diego State, Navy, Tulane, whole bunch of teams to lose. But that's huge for Memphis. I think that solidifies them right now as the best group of five team going forward.
I'm with you, kind of. We'll get into that in a minute. That's my next point on this list. USF does play Navy, and Navy, they are a service academy, but they are undefeated. They haven't looked bad this year. Like they're not a typical Navy team. I should say they are a typical Navy team in how they run their offense, but they're a good Navy team. Like
Hmm.
they beat Tulsa pretty easily. They beat Rice pretty easily. They beat Air Force, Temple by 1, FAU by 10. They definitely have been very intriguing to watch and very surprising. I was not expecting them to be the last undefeated group of five team remaining. And
Yeah.
here is, I want anyone that has a vote that's watching this to listen. Rank Navy, you cowards. Navy and a service academy making the college football playoff would be peak television. You would have more people watch that game than watch most games. That would be America's team.
It'd be a
Everybody,
blowout.
if you're not a fan of a team that is in the conference or in the college football playoffs, you are a Navy fan for the rest of the season. Put it in, even if it's just for TV ratings. I don't care. I want to see it. I think most people would love to see it. They would get blown out. They would get absolutely destroyed. They'd go in as a 12 seed and have to face off against a 5th seed. They would get destroyed,
Oregon.
but God, do I want to see it. That would be just a
Yeah.
great game to watch. I think the line would have to be like Navy plus 34 and a half. And I think Oregon might cover it, but I want to
Yeah.
see that. And then also you had Washington BTAing Illinois. Don't think anyone saw that coming. I did not see. I thought maybe Washington wins that game. Did not think they would dominate Illinois like they did.
Yeah, I mean, I always thought they had a chance. They're good. Their quarterback's so good.
They are
Uh,
good, but I just Illinois is their one or their two losses before this week were to Ohio State and Indiana, two teams that are the first and second best team in the country. Um, Luke Altmaier threw for 199 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Like I said, I'm not shocked Washington won. I'm shocked in the manner that they did win.
yeah, no, I agree. And I mean, I think Washington could play spoiler for a few teams. And I mean, they host Oregon the last week of the season. And let's say Indiana or Ohio State happen to drop a game. Let's say Ohio State loses to Michigan and Indiana loses to someone, and Oregon has a chance to play in that Big Ten championship game. Washington could play spoiler, and they could even win out. And I think they already have two conference losses, but
They have
they could
two
really
conference
pay.
losses. Um,
They could
so
play
I don't
spoiler.
think, yeah, I don't think they'll make it. I mean, they would need
They
a
need a
lot
lot,
of
probably too much.
stuff. Yeah, I mean, they would need
No
obviously
way
they would
Ohio State or Indy
they would
can lose
almost need like
twice.
USC to beat Oregon for them, but then
Yep.
also drop another game because they're ahead of them. They would need Ohio State and Indiana or one of those two to lose 2 games,
Yeah. Well.
especially because Ohio State has the head to head over them. So I don't think they're getting in. So their role for the season is spoiler, and that can be a fun role to really pay attention to. Like you said, they
Mm,
could spoil their rival season. I think that is kind of what that would make their season. I don't think that they thought that they would have a shot at the college football playoffs. They obviously were very good a few years ago, and then DeBoer left and took their entire team to Bama, and Jed Fish has come in, and a lot of things that can be said about that as well. Jed Fish apparently hates Seattle. His wife moved back to Arizona. A lot of people think he may leave for the UCLA job, but Washington was in a bad spot when he got there, and they're starting to show improvement there. But yeah, they're spoilers for the rest of the year, and yeah, that's a great role to have.
yep. I agree.
Okay, so we had most of those games that we just mentioned, and we kind of alluded to it, are really big for the conference championship game. So the SEC right now, you have A&M and Bama that are in the lead. They win out, they're in. And then you have Georgia, Ole Miss, and Vandy who are in the hunt. Now Texas is also in the hunt, technically, but we can all agree they're not going to win out. They're not going to be in the conference
Not
championship
at
game.
all.
So let's discount that and just say Georgia, Ole Miss, and Vanderbilt are in the hunt. And what everyone needs to happen. So Vanderbilt really would just need Georgia to lose a game, and then they would go to tiebreakers. I'm not sure on the tiebreakers because the tiebreakers are insanely confusing right now without divisions.
Yep.
But that would be their they if Georgia loses, it will go to tiebreaker. So we're just going to leave it at that. Unless a head-to-head tiebreaker, because that's actually easy to figure out. The other option for Vanderbilt would be for Alabama to lose two, which brings me to this point that is not impossible. So Bama has a couple of tough games, or has three tough games out of the four remaining games. They have LSU in 2 weeks, so LSU will have 2 weeks to get used to their head coach before they go to Bama. It is in Bryant-Denny. And we've seen teams before. I mean, we saw UCLA go from terrible to beating Penn State. Before Penn State looked like absolute garbage. So it is possible that LSU gets a little revitalized, and kind of gets over that hump and goes and plays better than they have been. We've seen it happen a lot before. Then they go and play Oklahoma, who is a good, not great SEC team. Have a couple of losses. Really, that loss to Texas is what kind of ruined their season. Now looking at it,
Aren't they at home too?
they are in Alabama for that game as well. And then they go into Jordan Hare to play Auburn, and we've said it before, weird things happen at that stadium, weird things happen in that rivalry, and Auburn has shown that they can hang with anybody in the country. They just aren't getting over the hump, and eventually you play in enough super close games, you're going to win one of them. I mean, this is a team that lost to A&M by 6, so they lost to Oklahoma by 7. We saw there was a really bad officiating call in that game. That the SEC even came out and was like, yeah, that's not how that works. That should not have been allowed. And that was a touchdown scoring play. So that's the difference in the game right there. Then A&M, who has looked really good, beat them by 6. Then Georgia beats them by 10. And that is where you have, one, the phantom timeout that Kirby Smart was clapping for. Because, yeah, I don't. That was a few weeks ago. Let's not get too off topic on that. But did you see, real quick, in the Ole Miss Georgia game, that Lane Kiffin called a timeout, and then you read his lips on the sideline, ran over to the ref and was like, no, I was just clapping. And then he started like laughing and with, whatever. Just,
I didn't see
Kiffin
that.
being Kiffin. Gotta love it. And then you have, they lost to Mizzou, lost to Mizzou by 6. So this is an Auburn team that can hang with anybody. You hang with teams enough, you're going to find ways to beat them. So I don't think that Alabama will lose 2 of those 3 games. I really don't. But I'm saying it's not impossible that they do. It is a possibility that they lose 2 of those 3 games, which then would allow Vanderbilt, if they won out, or Ole Miss, go to tiebreakers. Not Ole Miss, Vanderbilt. It would go to Vanderbilt would get in over Bama, A&M, and Bama. And then Ole Miss would need Georgia to lose to. And that I think is less likely to happen. If Bama losing 2 of the next 3 is a 3% probability, Georgia losing 2 more games this year is at a 0.5% probability. They have Florida. They do have to go to Mississippi State, who can hang with teams but haven't looked great. Then they play Texas, and then that's it for their SEC schedule. They then have Charlotte and Georgia Tech. So, Ole Miss, I think if they win out, they can still make it to the college football playoffs, but I think that it is almost set who is going to be in the SEC championship game, and I think that is A&M and Bama.
Okay. So I think it's gonna be Bama, Georgia. I think A&M is gonna lose on the last week of the season to Texas on the
You think they're
road.
going to lose? Okay.
On the road at Texas. Texas will still be playing for a big bowl game, and they're still good defense. And who knows? I mean, I think that's the game that A&M drops. And that one game is all that Bama and Georgia need to slide right in. And
Yeah,
the the ratings, everyone would love Bama versus Georgia. It just makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah. It does. I just don't think that A&M is going to make that mistake twice. Last year they hosted Texas, and if they won, they got into the conference championship game. If Texas won, they did, and they laid an absolute egg. I don't think that A&M will make that mistake twice. I think that, especially with this year's Texas team, I think A&M. I'm high on A&M. It seems like every week people are on, hey, this is the week that A&M is going to lose if they're going to lose, and then they don't, and then they get the same thing the next week.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I'm kind of on that bandwagon of is this the week or this is the week they finally lose. I just think they're going to drop one game at some point. But if they win out, good for them. I like Mike Elko. He's a lot different than any other coach they've had.
I'm with you. I like Mike Elko. He's a lot better than Jimbo Fisher. Okay, then in the Big Ten, we have Ohio State and Indiana that are the top two teams right now. Those are two teams that I don't think will lose a game for the rest of the season. But when you look at who's in the hunt, Michigan, USC only has one conference loss, and then Oregon. Now, those three, I'm gonna leave the Michigan to talk about last because I don't think USC or Oregon will lose a game except for the game that they play against each other. They both will play Nebraska. Or no, sorry, USC will play Nebraska, Northwestern, Iowa, and Oregon, and then UCLA. And I don't think that those, and maybe to Nebraska, but I just don't see them winning. We saw how Lincoln Riley had that team looking after a loss
Mm-hmm.
into a bye week and then come back against a good opponent. He'll have too much time. You give Lincoln Riley 2 weeks and then D'Anton Lynn 2 weeks to figure it out. I think that they will figure it out. And then Oregon plays Iowa, Minnesota, USC, and then Washington. Now, I think that USC Oregon game is going to be close before the season, and I've said it really up until a few weeks ago with the Michigan game that I thought Oregon was going to hammer USC in Autzen, but and not that USC is as good as Indiana, but Indiana kind of showed that you can win in Autzen to me, and then USC played against Michigan was
Mm-hmm.
really really good football, and I could see them winning that game. So I think that that is going to come down to who gets the nod over the other one, regardless of if other things go their way, whether Indiana or Ohio State lose a game. Um, I think that whoever wins that game will make it to the college football playoffs as well. But my other big one here is going to be Michigan, and Michigan has one conference loss on the year. If they win out and Oregon beats USC, that would put them win out into the last game of the season, and Oregon beats USC. That would put them controlling their own destiny against Ohio State. And we have seen every year Ohio State will have a better football
Mm-hmm.
team than Michigan, and they pull it off. Ohio, obviously, the joke at Ohio State or the joke about Ryan Day is that Ryan Day can't beat Michigan. He can't win the game. Um, that is a very real possibility that Michigan ends up beating Ohio State. It's in the shoe. It's at Ohio State, um, and then goes into the conference championship game against Indiana. Indiana, I don't think will lose a game for the rest of the season. They have a very easy schedule.
Same. I think this one's probably the most set in stone. It's probably Ohio State, Indiana. I don't see any team losing, and
Yeah,
if one team does lose, it'll be Ohio State losing to Michigan, and then you could just slide Oregon in.
yeah. I think this is the most set in stone one here. But now we get into two, or I guess actually we get into the one that's the most questionable or the second most questionable to the SEC, and that's the Big 12. And that thing is kind of wide open.
Wide open.
Right now, you have BYU and Cincinnati, who are the top two teams, and then Texas and Houston is in the hunt. Texas Tech and Houston are in the hunt. With that, though, Texas Tech plays BYU in 2 weeks. And
BYU's
I
got a
think,
rough schedule. They have to play
yeah.
Cincinnati and Texas Tech.
So I think Texas Tech will beat BYU. So then they'll have the head-to-head, which then reverts back to if Cincinnati wins out up until their game against BYU. Goes to Texas Tech and BYU, or Texas Tech and Cincinnati, and then it'll come down to who wins, BYU or Cincinnati. And I think BYU will win. Um,
Same.
I think BYU has shown. I mean, I know no one liked Bear Bachmeier. No, you were not big on number 47, Bear Bachmeier, but Bear Bachmeier and BYU have kind of shown that they might be the second best team. That win against Utah was huge for them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think that if it will ultimately be Texas Tech and BYU, I think we're getting a little sneak peek at the conference championship game in 2 weeks. I just think that, like I said, I think that Tech will win out, beat BYU, and I think BYU will beat Cincinnati.
So I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and I think Tech beats BYU, but I also think BYU beats Cincinnati. But I think Houston wins out. Houston has a very favorable schedule. I think they win out. They finish their conference record with one loss, I think it is, and they slide in and they play Texas Tech. I think it's
So
Houston
then,
versus Texas
yeah,
Tech.
it would come down to those tiebreakers in that situation
Yeah, I
because
don't know really what they are.
since yeah, Cincinnati would have the loss to Texas or Houston, sorry, Houston would have the loss to Texas Tech. Then they did not play Cincinnati or
Or
BYU.
BYU.
So
Yep.
then it would come down to if you had a Texas Tech, a BYU, and a Houston, all with one loss. Texas Tech would own both head-to-head tiebreakers. They would go in. Houston and Cincinnati, I think it goes to like
Probably
strength of
common
record
opponents.
or common opponent. Oh, I think it's common opponents first. It gets confusing
I don't know.
quickly.
Yeah.
So then we go to tiebreakers, in which case I have zero idea what would happen. I don't think anyone knows what happens with the tiebreakers. I think we're just
Big
hoping there
12.
are no ties. I don't even know if the Big
Yeah.
12 knows. I think they're
Yeah, I
just
mean
hoping that
it's going to be pure chaos, I think,
this could
which is great.
absolutely come
I
down to
love
a
it.
coin flip. Which, oh, I'm with you. The chaos is great. Yeah, chaos is great on that. So, and then we have the ACC, which I think is also a slam dunk here. A very, I think Georgia Tech has looked just better than
I think they're a
everyone
shoe in.
not named Miami, and then obviously did not have as bad of a loss or a loss like Miami did. They're a shoe in. I don't think they lose a game for the rest of the season, and then I don't know. I don't think Virginia loses a game for the rest of the season. They have Cal, Wake Forest, Duke, and Virginia Tech. Um,
Yes.
I
So,
don't think that they'll lose a game for the rest of the season.
and
Also in
they're
the hunt, real
undefeated,
quick,
correct? In
Virginia is undefeated in
yes.
conference. No, no, no. They have a loss to North Carolina State.
Oh, okay.
They have one
I
loss to North Carolina State, but they did, and this is a team that's in the hunt. I did forget to mention that. It's Louisville and Pitt.
yeah.
Louisville lost to
Mm,
Virginia, so Virginia owns the head to head there.
yeah, I think Louisville and Pitt are both going to lose at least one more game, and I think they're out of it. I think it's going to come down to Georgia Tech, Virginia, and Miami. Miami lost to Louisville. I don't think they lose another game, and that puts them at one loss with Virginia. And I don't know who wins that tiebreaker, but whoever wins that tiebreaker, I think it's those three teams. And if it's ranking, Miami obviously is going to get in over Virginia.
Virginia has the head to head tiebreaker over Miami. No, Louisville does. Sorry, Louisville
Yeah, I was going
does.
to say Louisville
Yeah,
will.
no, Louisville
I
does.
think
I was
Louisville
thinking
loses
Florida
again,
State for a
though.
second. You think Louisville will lose again?
Yeah.
So I
Same
think
with Pitt.
Pitt, they'll lose two because they play Miami and Georgia Tech. I think they lose
Yep.
two, and then I think I don't know. I'm gonna pull up Louisville's schedule because I was looking at it and I didn't see any that jumped off as a loss to me. Um, yeah, Virginia Tech, Clemson, Cal, SMU, and Kentucky. Maybe the Clemson. I think Clemson's kind of turned it around, gotten it together a little bit. Um, so I'll say maybe they have that one loss, but I think regardless of if they lose or not, right now I don't think Virginia will lose. I think it'll be Georgia Tech and Virginia.
I Okay. Well,
But
yeah. I mean, I'm gonna go Miami, but I
okay,
100% would be fine with Virginia.
see, I wonder tiebreaker wise though because Virginia beat Louisville, who beat Miami. So I think when you go common opponent, that Virginia would get in if they win out. Yeah, I mean that makes sense to me, but I don't know what the tie if that makes sense with the tiebreakers. I don't
Yeah.
think anyone knows the tiebreakers right now. So
Yeah. But
then, well, okay, so that's who I think was going to win the uh or kind of the update on the conference championship game. let's transition a little bit into college football playoff. And I'm going to ask you how many teams are going to go conference by conference. How many teams that you think make it from this conference? So SEC.
4.
4. Okay. I'm
Yeah.
gonna go. I'm gonna go 5. And I think if I did the math right, I'm going 5. And here's why. So I'll give you the next one. Big Ten.
3.
So I think 3 make it from the Big Ten. Big 12.
1.
You think 1 makes it from the Big 12?
Just the winner.
Just the winner. And then ACC.
2.
2. So I think ACC will come down to Georgia Tech if they. I'm assuming Georgia Tech wins out, so we'll go conference champion Georgia Tech, and then
So I have Georgia Tech, Miami winning, so they get the
Georgia Tech.
automatic, and Georgia Tech was already higher ranked. No way they kick them out.
Yeah, I could see that now. I have, like I said, I have Georgia Tech winning. In which case, I think it depends how much they beat. Again, I have Virginia Tech not losing a game, or Virginia not losing a game. So how much they beat Virginia by, whether Virginia gets that second invite or Miami. But I have them at 2 also. Big 12, I have 2 because I think if like we said, Texas Tech and BYU meet up, or like I said, I think Texas Tech and BYU might meet up, then I think they'll take both of those, which brings us to 4. You have your group of 5. I think 3 max from the Big Ten. I think that one's kind of a question mark because I think Ohio State, Indiana will go, but then it depends because if Oregon wins out, they probably go, which would be 3, and then you would fill out
Yep.
the 4 in from the SEC. But I think there's a possibility only the top 2 go. I think if Oregon, USC, Michigan, if USC and Oregon, or if Oregon loses another game, USC loses another game, they both won't go. So I think that that's a possibility. So I'm gonna go 4. I'm gonna go 4, 3, 2, 2, and then the group of 5.
Okay, so you're ignoring the fact that college football playoff committee is going to, as much as I know you're going to hate this, and
I
I'm a
knew
USC
that's where you're
fan too,
going with
they're
this.
going to shoe in Notre Dame. They're
I
going to
just
go
don't
10 and
know if
2, and they're going to put them in.
I
I
just
have
don't
I
know
have
if
that's
Notre
why
Dame. I think you're right. I think you're right, but I don't know if Miami or if Notre Dame will have a good win on the year. Like if you say USC is a good win, I won't fight you on it. I won't fight you on that at all. But like
they're
they're
I
2
agree.
ranked teams. Miami or they're 3 ranked wins. They are 1 and 2 in ranked wins. Beat Miami or lost to Miami, lost to A&M. They play Navy, who could be a ranked win,
Could be a ranked win.
which will probably be a ranked win. So Notre Dame gets a ranked win. I'm going to say that. And then Pitt, Syracuse, Stanford. I just don't know if they have a win. They'll probably get in. I just don't see how you can put them in. If their name wasn't Notre Dame, you took that exact same schedule and you gave it to like
Louisville,
Washington, Louisville, they're not getting in.
nope. But yeah, it's Notre Dame.
Yeah, you're right. I think you might be onto that. You might be right.
And then I have Memphis as my group of 5. So I got 4
Memphis is your group of
SEC, 3
5.
Big Ten. I think ACC could get 1 or 2, and then Big 12 could get 1 or 2. I think it could be Georgia Tech, Texas Tech, and BYU. I also think it could be Georgia Tech, Miami, Texas Tech.
Okay,
I
I
think
don't.
that's interchangeable.
Yeah,
I
I
think
don't
3
hate
teams come out
that.
of those 2 conferences.
I wouldn't hate that. My thing is just if the ACC last year got 2 teams in, they should
They
probably
should
get 2
get 2
teams
this
this
year.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah, those 2
I think
teams
the
last
Big
year were
12 is
not good.
the quote unquote, well, not anymore this year. I think ACC might be the worst Power 4
I agree.
conference.
I agree. The ACC is probably the quote unquote worst Power 5 conference this year. 100%.
Big 12
Um,
spent all that money.
yeah, yeah, they
And
did. Texas Tech, remember
yeah,
they have oil boosters. Um,
hell yeah.
my group of 5 team. Hey, if you got oil
Bakersfield,
money
Texas, right
boosters,
there.
yeah, there you go. It's like if you got oil, it's like if USC has like Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg, or neither are alumni, but they both are big donors and boosters. You might as well use them. George
Mm-hmm.
Lucas, you want to donate some money? Like we'll take it. Like you get that movie and the music money coming in.
Yep.
My group of 5 team, like probably gonna go Memphis, but God, do I want Navy? That's who I'm rooting for, but I think it's gonna be
Uh,
Memphis.
yep.
All right, and then last thing before we end this, we got a couple of big games this week. Starting off with Vanderbilt and Texas.
So I looked at these. I looked at both our picks. We're actually pretty similar on it. We're
I
actually
figured we
similar on
would be.
every single one except for one game. Uh, I'm going Vanderbilt here. I
Yeah,
just don't trust Texas, and I think Diego Pavia is just going to lead them to victory.
I'm with you. I think Vanderbilt wins. Texas is a good football team. Vanderbilt's a good football team. I think the question mark though is if Arch is hurt and doesn't play, because
Texas could get a little boost.
and their drive with their backup quarterback looked better than any of their drive this week with Arch. So, um, I think there's a chance Texas wins, but I don't think. I think ultimately I'm gonna pick Vandy
It
there.
wouldn't surprise me if Texas won at all.
It wouldn't surprise me if Texas won, especially if they have their backup in. I'm going to say that.
Hmm.
Now, again, we all said this last year with Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning, and then Sark was right. Quinn Ewers was the guy. So we don't know. We don't know. We don't know what the backup quarterbacks actually look like outside
Yeah,
of a very small selection of film. But South Carolina and Ole Miss, that's a big game because Ole Miss does need to win out.
I think Ole Miss wins. They're at home. I think they handle South Carolina pretty easy.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Ole Miss wins. South Carolina, they like I said, they are self inflicting losses. They are shooting themselves in the foot. I think Ole Miss has looked like a top four SEC team this year, so I'm rolling Ole Miss there. Then we got a very patriotic game. We got one of the Commander in Chief Trophy games, Army Air Force.
Going Army.
I'm going Army. Go
Haven't
Army,
watched
beat
much of
Navy.
them, but I'm picking Army.
Do you think anyone in podcasts has ever gone on throughout the episode about how much they like Navy and then said "Go Army, beat Navy" at the end of it? Because I feel like I shouldn't have said that now. No, my actually, I who do you root for in that game? Getting a little
Uh,
off topic here.
Normally Navy.
Okay. See, I go back and forth because I have one grandpa who was in the Army and the other that was in the Navy. And then both of their dads were Marines, so it's like I don't know who to root for in this one. I mean, every year I just root for the troops. That's it.
Hell yeah,
Root for
it's a
America.
good ass game. Just take the under.
Dude, for real. Then we got ASU Iowa State. Another. I have it on here because ASU's not out of it, but they're for all intents and purposes out of it. They're not
Yeah, and
mathematically out of it.
I think Iowa State might win this game,
Okay.
but I'm gonna go with ASU.
I'm going
And
ASU, and I hate to say it because my boss is a big ASU guy. He went to ASU for like a semester and just now loves the Sun Devils and absolutely loves to tell me about it. Uh, actually, the day before Herm Edwards got fired, he was texting talking about how great of a coach Herm Edwards was. So then when he got fired the next day, it was a very vindicative feeling to just send him the screenshot and say, "Great coach, huh?" So I don't want to see it happen. I'll be annoyed all week if it happens, but I think ASU
uh,
wins that game. I just don't think Iowa State's a great football team. They have their wins are against bad teams, and they were propelled up because they beat a Kansas State team in week 0 when that was the only game that was on.
yeah, I mean,
Then we got Georgia, Florida, world's largest outdoor cocktail party. I can't tell if that's a great name for a rivalry or the worst name for a rivalry. It's too long. Maybe you just shorten it to like outdoor cocktail party maybe, but it's a good rivalry every year. I'll give it that. One of the few neutral site rivalries that I think is a good rivalry.
oh, let's go. Dodgers. Sorry, Dodgers just hosed this guy at the plate to end the top of the 10th inning. Let's
I
go.
was so confused because I was about 10 seconds behind that. And so when I heard you say let's go, I just saw the ball like get past the outfielder. And
You're like, what?
my first thought was like, does Nick realize that the Blue Jays are wearing blue?
Yeah, Georgia, Florida. I think it's gonna be a good game. Actually, I think Florida is gonna compete with them. Georgia's gonna pull away at the end, probably win by like 13 points, but Florida should keep it close. They haven't been that great on defense at certain times, so maybe they score. Florida scores some points on them, but we'll see. I think Georgia
I,
still wins.
I'm with you. I think Georgia wins. Gunnar Stockton has played really well, but Florida also did is going to get that that new interim head coach bump that we see teams get, and they've had 2 weeks to kind of they had a bye week last week, so they had 2 weeks to really get a game plan going. Uh, Georgia has had 2 weeks also, but they have no film on this new coach. Almost seems like Florida probably got rid of Billy Napier, so there wouldn't be any film on the new head coach, and they would have a legit shot to beat Georgia, which could make their
Ruin their
season.
season.
So I love that. That's peak college football right there. I do think Georgia will win. Wouldn't be shocked if Florida won though, and that would be chaos. If Florida beats Georgia, chaos. Vandy might sneak into the conference
Yeah.
championship game. Then we got USC Nebraska.
So I'm going USC, obviously. Uh, gonna be really, really hard. They're a really good defense, so it'll be tough to beat Nebraska on the road. But Maava can do it. You just got to sling the rock around, and they still got to run for 100, yards, but
My
I think they can do
biggest
it.
my biggest question mark for that game is whether King Miller will play like he did against Michigan or if he will play like he did against Notre Dame. And that's not to knock King Miller. When you're not the starter and you haven't had any games starting and now you are starting in probably the biggest game of the year for a team, it's going to be tough. Like you get that adrenaline, you're not really thinking about it. You're just thinking about getting your job done when you come in against Michigan, but then you have to go play against Notre Dame. You have a week to think about it. And I think it makes it tougher to start that game as opposed to coming in because someone got hurt. And I think because King Miller had such a good game against Michigan, we all kind of just didn't think about how big of a loss it is for to have both of your first and second string running backs out.
Gone, yeah.
So I think it might be hard to run the ball. I am not the biggest Raiola fan. I think he is showing improvement, but he's still also a sophomore, second year guy. Um, I'm going USC here. Like I said earlier, USC also showed what they can do when you give Lincoln Riley 2 weeks to prepare for a game. You give D'Anton Lynn 2 weeks to prepare for a game, and it looked a lot better than they did. In games where they only had 1 week to prepare. I think Lincoln gets a big road win this week. Then we got Oklahoma and Tennessee.
All right, so I think that Oklahoma bounces back on the road
Okay.
and they beat Tennessee. I think their
Okay.
defense bounces back. They gave up a little bit of points against Ole Miss, but I think they bounce back, and I think they get the victory. Mateer's getting healthier, so I think this is the week they take down Tennessee.
I wouldn't be shocked by that. What you said, Mateer is getting healthier. I wouldn't be shocked for a bounce back week. My thing is, I think Tennessee is just really underrated still. Their two losses are to Georgia and Bama. Georgia, a very good football team that they lose on a field goal they should have won on. They should have made that field goal, and then Bama, obviously a rivalry game, and Bama just had the momentum the entire game. I think Tennessee is still sneakily one of the top teams in the SEC. They just have had their two big wins their two big games they have lost, and they haven't had any other shots to really prove what they can do because they've had an easy schedule besides those two games. Now,
Yeah,
obviously, win the games, the big games, if you want the recognition and the notoriety from it. But I still think Tennessee will ultimately win the game. This is an insanely tough stretch of games for Oklahoma here. Um, so I'm rolling Tennessee on this one. And then for the last one, we got Cincy and Utah.
yeah. So I think this kind of goes back to what we talked about earlier. I think Cincinnati loses. Uh, Utah beats them. Utah beats them at home. I don't think Cincinnati's defense is good enough to stop them. I know Dampier has kind of been hurt, but I think he's back and fine, and I think they'll be able to just run all over Cincy.
Yeah, Utah is in a very tough team, a very good off line, a very good line team on both sides of the ball. They're physical, they're strong. I think they will. I think they will end up winning that game, um, and then kind of ruining Cincinnati's season for the rest of the year. And that's the last one I have. I have nothing else to talk about. Nick, was there anything else you wanted to talk about from this past week of college football or this next week going into this week of college football?
Not really. I mean, I think this week's going to be pretty crazy, but
Yeah,
I'm just rooting for chaos.
you're at the point where you're just rooting for chaos.
Yep. I mean,
I have a
if
couple
USC doesn't
teams.
win this week, I'm just solely rooting for chaos.
So I have a couple of teams that I will kind of root for, but not really. At the end of the day, I'm with you. I'm rooting for chaos. Um, and just as a fan of the sport, not a fan of USC, just loving every Saturday. So, but yeah, with that then, Nick, fight on, and we will see you guys next week.